Read the Bible. No, why don't you just tell me? You want me to read it for you? Just read the Bible, the third one, and I got to finish. If you want to walk like Abraham and you want to learn from him, you got to be ready to sacrifice for God's honor. I want you to know that you're never, ever, ever going to live a life full of rose petals. Being a Christian requires sacrifices all the time, all the time. And listen, you're never going to please God, you're never going to be obedient, and you're never going to show faith unless you're willing to sacrifice for the honor of God. I wrote a quote there. I believe it's there. If it's not, forgive me. It says, faith makes things possible. No, it's supposed to say, faith doesn't make things possible. It makes... What? Oh, faith makes things possible. It doesn't make things easy. Faith doesn't mean things are easy. It means they are possible. And listen, you're always, for God's sake, God is always going to ask you to sacrifice something. Always. Listen, there's going to be times when God is going to ask you to let go of something that's not bad. It's not a sin. It's not wrong. But you want to know why he's going to ask you to do that? For the same reason that he asked Abraham, to know if you love that more than you love him. And if you love that or it or him or her more than God, then you're going downhill. Sometimes God is going to say, hey, I want you to let go of that boy. I want you to let go of that girl. I want you to let go of that park. I want you to let go of that show. And they're not necessarily bad. But he's going to ask you to see if you love him more than you do those things. And here's the cool thing. Here's the thing we know that Abraham didn't know. That when you obey God, he multiplies the things that he takes away from you. Like Job, remember the story we read of Job when he lost all his sons and his riches and his wealth and everything? He lost it all for God. And when God blessed him again, he gave him 7 times what he had at the beginning. But listen, you're never going to be able to please God. You're never going to be able to show obedience. You're never going to be able to put faith in God's way. So you're willing to sacrifice. What if God asked you to put down your phone for a month so that you can spend time with him? Would you be willing to do that? What if God asked you to come out of your chair and start serving? Would you be willing to do that? Nestor, but I'm nervous. You don't get it. I start sweating. So do I. Look at me. But I'm sacrificing for his sake. I'm sacrificing for his sake. When you do this in Genesis 22, 9 and 10 says, when they arrived at the place where God had told Abraham to go, he built an altar and placed the wood on it. Then he tied Isaac up and laid him on the altar over the wood. And Abraham took the knife and lifted it up to kill his son as a sacrifice to the Lord. Why? Because he was willing to sacrifice for the sake of God. When you do this, the result is going to be a reward. Anytime God asks something from you, he's going to reward you. Any and every time. You want to know something? There's a verse in the Bible that really brings encouragement to me as you fill that out. The Bible says, Jesus said this. He says, anybody who leaves father or mother or brother or sister or relative for my sake, I promise them that they will gain it not only in the life to come. In other words, not only am I going to reward you in heaven, but I'm going to reward you here on earth. And then Jesus said it in another way. He said, hey, anybody who loses their life for my sake, in other words, anybody who's willing to sacrifice their life for my sake, they're going to gain it back up. But anybody who keeps their life, they're going to lose it. You want to be selfish? You're going to end up losing your life. You want to gain your life? You want to make something out of your life? The best thing you can do is lose it for God, because he will reward you every time. Every time. Now, how? Well, here's the thing, and I want to end with this. You got to subscribe to a loose grip on living. In other words, don't get too attached to things. You know, don't get too attached to things. You know, if you're dating somebody and you're dating them for like 5 years, and one day God says, hey, you know, I think the time ended. I kind of want you to do this. You got to be willing to say, okay, God, I love them, but if this is what you're asking me, I'm willing to let go. You want to know something? You know why God doesn't bless us like he wants us to? Because this is what you're doing. Listen, this is what we often do. When we start out with God, God says, come here, Abby. Or come here, Lorena. I'll use my lovely wife. God says, Lorena, here, I want to trust you with 50 cents. And you know what we do? Hey, they're mine. Well, Lorena, what most of us do, and Lorena does, is, what does she do? I don't want to lose them. I don't want to drop them. And then God comes around and he says, Lorena, I want you to let go of those quarters. But what do we do? No, God, they're the only 50 cents I have. ConneXion needs these. You know, I want to spend them in the snack bar. I'm not going to give them as an offering. I'm going to use them in the snack bar. And God is saying, Lorena, let go of those 50 cents. And Lorena's like, no, God, don't you understand? It's like, look, there's even a shape in my palm where they comfortably go. And God is saying, Lorena, please let go of those 50 cents. And God says, let go, because he's got a 20 over here. You saw what she did? Now, if God came and said, can you let go of those 50 cents so I can give you these $20? That's a no-brainer. But see, God doesn't do that because he wants to test you. Because he wants to see your faith. He's going to say, can you let go of those 50 cents? And listen, when you do, he's going to say, thank you, because I wanted to give you 20. So you got to apply a loose grip to life. Would you bow your head?